Anyone who wielded a sword died during the Great War between the Orthodox faction and the demonic cult. The Great War between the demons and the Orthodox. The best part is, the battle that continued for 13 years, with endless hell, filled with tears, wails, and bloodshed. All of this had abruptly ended one day with an unexpected truce, which no one had predicted. Even 20 years later, the details of the truce remained a mystery. Both the heavenly demon cult and the Orthodox alliance seemed to have agreed to remain silent. As time passed, new forces began to emerge within the jianghu. On the other hand, some families had weakened because of the war. Now, there a beautiful woman named Zhang Cherian, second daughter of the righteous sword sect. She is in a disappointment that she can't break through to the 7-star realm. She needs to master a sword art named Red Death, which is a martial art passed down through generations within the righteous sword sect. Then she sheaths her sword and sighs down that her martial arts aren't improving at all. I guess this girl might be the female lead in this manhwa. Let's see. Someone calls Cherian, and it is her sister, Zhang Werian. The other one is Cherian's brother-in-law, Seo Beck. Cherian asks, what brought them here all of a sudden? And sister responds that a person named Zhang from Zhangxin clan is here to compete with Cherian in this year's Dragon and Phoenix tournament. And Cherian is devastated after listening to Werian's words. Among the martial artists of Zhongyuan, there are 2 tournaments that stand out as the most grand. One of them is the Dragon and Phoenix tournament, an event for the young rising talents, and not very risky. And the other one is the Heavenly Dragon tournament, where sex, honor, and even lives are on the line. The greatest martial arts tournament under the heavens. This year, both tournaments are held in Hubei, where Cherian lives in. Cherian feels disgusted to pair up with Zhang, because Zhang is a perverted creep. So, Cherian rejects the offer, and yells that Cherian wouldn't like to get involved with Zhang. Werian speaks that Cherian always wanted to honor her clan's prestige, so by winning the tournament, it could be an opportunity to gain great prestige. Cherian runs away before her sister could stop speaking, and Cherian states that her sister can just lie about her age to enter the tournament. Seo Beck thinks that Cherian has the temper exactly like his wife. In a market, Cherian is depressed as to what to do. Because if the Zhangxin clan holds a grudge and retaliates against her clan, it could cause problem to her family. Cherian believes that dirty schemes and tricks are running rampant because of the law of the jungle, where only the strong rules and dictates. Then from her backside, an act is going, where the Orthodox Alliance leader won against demonic cult. Cherian mutters that it is nonsense, and ponders. Nothing has been revealed about how the war ended between the demons and Orthodox factions. Someone from her behind states that he also had similar thoughts about the act. He speaks that the heavenly demon's technique, demon art, cannot be underestimated in a one-on-one fight. Moreover, he speaks that the Great War didn't end in such a trivial manner. This guy is the MC of this manhwa, and looks good too. However, Cherian thinks of the protagonist as someone weird. The protagonist asks Cherian to grab a drink together, and this is his first time in Hubei, so he asks for directions to an inn. But Cherian imagines that the protagonist is playing some kind of trick with her, and leaves off the place. Like that, the both of them part ways here. Now, at an inn, someone enters, and everyone looks at her. It is Cherian, and she thinks that there are no empty seats. At that moment, a waiter approaches and greets Cherian. With a worried expression on his face, he speaks that only the special room has empty seats. Then, he shows the way to Cherian, by stating that Cherian is Wuhan's best. Cherian feels embarrassed about the praise she is getting. At this moment, someone is already in the special room and greets Cherian. It is our protagonist. In addition, Cherian feels that her luck is really strange today. Protagonist, while eating a large quantity of food, inquires about the registration process for the upcoming competition. Cherian questions if he is participating in the tournament. He agrees to it, by saying that, ever since he is 10, he is traveling. At that time, someone enters into the room, and Cherian's eyes widened. It is Zhang, from Zhangxin clan. He scans Cherian's body lustfully, and Cherian is irritated about that. Subsequently, Zhang turns his head, speaks that someone is here. He pulls a coin out of his kimono, and hurls it at the plate MC is eating, by stating that it is for the bill. He expresses to the protagonist to leave right now. The protagonist tells it is not enough because more food is on its way. Jiang warns the protagonist to leave when Jiang is good to him. Before he completes his sentence, Jiang glances at something. Then, Jiang realizes that the protagonist is acting arrogant because he is a martial artist by seeing protagonist's weapons. Jiang moves forward to take a look at the weapons and tries to lift the blade. But it feels so heavy to Jiang. However, if Jiang turns back here, he would only receive humiliation. So he attempts to lift the blade using inner energy, and he barely lifts an inch. Afterwards, he turns back with exhaustion and knows that the blade is heavy and questions the protagonist if he uses this blade to train his muscles. At that point, the protagonist takes a hold of the blade's hilt and raises it up easily by saying that it isn't for training. Jiang is aggrieved and asks if the protagonist is toying with him. At that time, Cherian shouts at them to stop and walks into them. Everyone is dumbfounded, and Jiang grabs her wrist and tells her she will be with him in the dragon and phoenix competition, so she needs to control herself. She pulls her hand back and briefs in that she will not participate with Jiang and had someone else. He questions why she did this, and Cherian notifies that Jiang is using his family's power to impose things on her, and it is a shameful act. Jiang asks who Cherian is going with, and she didn't have an answer to that question and struggles to respond. Then, the protagonist apprises that Cherian is participating with him. At that point, Jiang's sister comes forward and asks if the protagonist knows who Jiang is. Then, the protagonist states that,
I don't know who Jiang is, but do you know who I am?
She speaks that she don't, and she tends to get attracted to the protagonist. Jiang then leaves the room furiously and forewarns that he will see them at Dragon and Phoenix competition. His sister looks back, and our MC smiles at her, then she smiles back and leaves. Cherian is nervous that she is in trouble, and even the protagonist might be in trouble. Now, the protagonist speaks that he had to enter into the Dragon and Phoenix tournament too. Cherian is perplexed at his words, because earlier MC said that he is going to participate in the competition. Then, the protagonist clarifies that he is going to participate in the Heavenly Dragon tournament to begin with. Cherian is stunned after hearing those words. The subordinates of Jiang convinces Jiang that Cherian is trying all of this to make Jiang jealous of her, and that she plans to win using a laughable guy. However, Jiang can't accept his subordinates' words about the protagonist as laughable guy, because Jiang clearly saw MC lifting the blade so easily, which is so heavy. Moreover, he is annoyed that Cherian had rejected him. In the Righteous Sword sect, Warian is angry because Cherian rejected Jiang's offer in one go. Therefore, Jiang is causing an havoc at the brothel. However, Cherian's mother, Ansui, is worried about Cherian because she heard rumors of Jiang being not a good person. Cherian's father, Zhang Liqiu, Righteous Sword sect leader, is blaming himself for not being able to learn his clan's sword art, so that he could protect his family in circumstances like this. Warian speaks that they need to find Cherian first. At that fleeting moment, Cherian appears with the protagonist, and everyone queries how she is, and questions who the person behind is. Cherian explains to everyone that he is the one, she is going to participate in the tournament. Everyone is bewildered, and the MC steps forward and introduces himself as Jeok Lee-Geon. Warian questions which sect Jeok belongs to, and Jeok replies that he don't belong to any, and his parents sell fruits near the human gate. Cherian is stunned, and everyone is confounded. Zhang inquires why Jeok is carrying a blade and a sword, because only a third-rate thug would master both the sword and blade for aesthetics. Jeok answers that he mastered both, and he is quite exceptional in several areas, due to he came from a strong bloodline. Zhang shockingly asks if Jeok learned his martial arts from his parents who sell fruits. Then Jeok responds yes to his question. Warian tells to Cherian to apologize to Jiang in the morning after learning the status of Jeok. Subsequently, red color energy leaks out from a pavilion. In addition to, there are 4 guards guarding the entrance. The guards enjoy themselves, and a person appears at that point. Then a guard stands up by unsheathing his sword and attacks Jeok with sword. However, Jeok dodges the sword effortlessly and uses a karate chomp to the guard's stomach. Then the attacking guy falls down, and the remaining guards startled there. Jeok speaks that this is his first step towards his future, so he don't plan to leave anyone behind. The moment Jeok finished his words, he swiftly launched himself towards the guards, and in a single strike, he slashed all of them. Like that, he slaughtered an entire room of guards in a moment, and opens the door. There, a few ladies are treating a man like a master, and an old man pouring liquor, and the big man who is like a sumo is Black Market's branch leader. The leader questions the purpose of Jeok, and Jeok responds, he is here to buy the most expensive person in this room. The big man laughs out loudly, and asks if Jeok has that much money to buy him. Then, Jeok inquires the price, and the leader tells, it is 500,000 yang. Jeok instantly displays the amount mentioned by the leader, and tells that the deal is done. The leader is flabbergasted after witnessing Jeok pulling that much amount so easily, and there is more in Jeok's sack. The leader then questions, what if he takes all that money by killing Jeok? Jeok expresses that the leader could try that idea too. Then, the leader commands the ladies to move, and the ladies tries to seduce Jeok first, and once he loses his mind, they will attempt to kill Jeok instantly. The ladies dance around Jeok in a seductive way, and the leader thinks that the moment Jeok has stepped into the room, Jeok has been caught in a formation. Like that, a woman pulls out her hairpin and attempts to stab it into Jeok's throat. At that point, Jeok blocks it and throws the pin using sorcery to break the formation. Then, all the ladies in the room were freed from the formation, and the leader is shocked that Jeok instantly figured out the main item that could break the formation. Jeok wants to know if any of the ladies are here to serve the leader willingly, and every one of them keeps a disgusted face. Based on their expressions, Jeok suggests them to leave, and he will take care of the aftermath. Nevertheless, they were afraid of the leader. The leader bursts into laughing, notifies that he will let go all of them, only after they cut of their limbs though. Jeok warns the leader,
Let's see if you have the guts to do something like that in front of me.
With those words, the leader is aware of how intense the murderous intent is from Jeok's words. Likewise, all of the girls appreciates Jeok after Jeok had given them all the money he brought and let them off to start a new life. The leader is frustrated that someone who is like a toddler to him is ruining his business. Then the leader uses a martial art, which makes one grow big in size, and decides to kill Jeok in a cruel way. The leader attacks Jeok first by punching. Nonetheless, Jeok dodges it easily. The leader tries to strike Jeok again, yet Jeok leaps into the air. At that fleeting moment, Jeok kicks the leader on his face, and the leader flies off like a football. The leader coughs up blood and gets back on his knees. Now, he makes an effort to using the inner energy. However, Jeok flicks a stone to the leader's direction, and it took off the leader's arm. With the force in the stone, the leader can deduce one thing certainly, that is, Jeok is a real master. The leader screeches and exerts himself to enlarge his body once more, but Jeok, without giving the time to the leader, gathers his inner energy and thrusts it into the leader's belly. The surge of force made the leader fall down, and the leader mumbles, where is Jeok, trying to take the leader's body by purchasing him. Jeok answers that the leader is mistaken, because Jeok is here to take the old man whose back is unstraightened. The leader inquires, what purpose is there for an old man like that? Moreover, if Jeok is here is to take the old man, with his skills he could easily kidnap the old man. Jeok then explains, he needed a reason to kill the leader, that is why he didn't do that. After that, Jeok greets the old man as Manor Master Wa, or to be more precise, Wa Mukyil. The old man agrees to it, for stating it is a nostalgic name that he wanted to forget. In the past, Wa is a formation arts genius, and anyone from Jianghu knows about the Phantom Manor, which is famous for having the best machining techniques. One day, his only daughter touched an unfinished mechanical device, and Wa lost his entire family in that accident, and he blamed for his foolishness. Later, he changed his appearance and went into hiding. Tears flows down from Wa's eyes, that he remembered that incident again. On that point, Jeok consoles Wa that it an accident and it is not Wa's fault. Wa is touched by those words, because up until now, no one had said those words to Wa. He puts into question as to how Jeok is going to use him from now on. Jeok answers it is to dominate the jianghu. Wa falls on his knees and greets his new master, Jeok. Now, Jeek gathers his inner energy again, and Hwa screams out loudly. Outside, someone is on a tree's branch, and thinking if the young master has finished his fight or not. Hwa is stunned after seeing his back had been straightened back to normal, because once a body that is transformed by the supreme arts couldn't be reverted. Hwa sincerely thanks Jeek for what Jeek had done. Jeek says that he is the one who should be thankful, since Jeek will be using Hwa from now on, until Hwa's bones wear out. Someone enters into the room and calls Jeek as young master. He is Jeek's bodyguard, Myung. Nevertheless, Jeek blatantly says to shave Myung's beard because he looks old. Jeek introduces Myung to Hwa, and Jeek tells to Myung that plans had changed one more time, that they starting the process with Jiangxin clan. Myung questions why Jeek has been changing all the plans, like entering the Dragon and Phoenix tournament, and now with the Znaxin clan. To his question, Jeek answers that, "We never know when someone's mind will change, do we?" Myung states that, "Those are the words of a playboy." Like that, they funnily argue with each other, and Hwa feels like he shouldn't interrupt them. The next day morning, at Jiangxin clan, both Cheryong and her father are here to apologize to Jang for what happened. The guards briefs in that Jang and the union leader are away. At that point in time, doors open and someone greets Cheryong's father. It is a person called Quan Hyuki, alias 8 Flying Hands. Jong bows down and greets Quan. Then, Quan offers Jong about a drink, and the treat is on Quan. Jong accepts it gratefully. As the video creator, who would reject a drink when it is for free? Now coming to the story, someone is spectating this scene from a window. It is Jang, the cunning man who has snake-like eyes. At an inn, Quan pours down a cup of wine to Jong, which is very precious and luxury wine. Then the both of them discuss the affairs of the current jianghu, and Cherian is upset that Jeek left without saying a word to her last night. She is frustrated because of that, and I could sense that Cherian is slowly harboring feelings towards Jeek. Jong expresses gratitude to Quan, and it'll be Jong's treat next time. Before Jong could even finish his sentence, Quan remembers an urgent matter that he needs to attend, and he runs off like that. The owner of the inn presents the bill to Jong. Jong is stunned after perceiving the bill, and that a bottle of wine costs 120 niang, which is a lot for someone like Jong. LOL, Jeek pulled out 500,000 niang casually and donated to the girls. Jong expresses that he don't have that much money on him right now, so he plans to come back tomorrow. The owner states that they don't accept credit, but Jong could leave his daughter behind as collateral until tomorrow. Jong objects to it. Yet the owner states that Cherian could entertain the guests until tomorrow. Jong narrows his eyes and discerns that the guards are as strong as Jong, so he tightens the grip on his sword with tension. Then someone calls Jong from backside. It is the protagonist. Jeek has entered to rescue them. Then, he states that the wine tastes a bit strange, and they must have mixed something in it. The owner disobeys Jeek's words, but Jeek don't listen to her words and asks if they are selling fake wine. All the customers at the inn stares at her with suspicion, and the owner tells Jeek to lower his voice. Nonetheless, Jeek announces that the wine they sell here is fake. Everyone slowly gathers to the center of the inn, and the owner tells Jeek is causing a ruckus after he is drunk to please the customers. Jeek states that he will show the proof to everyone here. He then makes a bet with the owner that he will take everything the inn earned today if prove the wine is fake. And if he fails to prove it, he states that
you can brew the liquor with my gallbladder.
Everyone had come outside to see what proofs Jeek is going to demonstrate. Jeek questions if any of the customers knows the reason why the inn stored their wine in such a hidden place with an iron lock chain to it. The owner argues that they wouldn't store their wine in such a shabby place. But Jeek breaks out the door and brings out a large pot. Jeek then takes a cup to show everyone what is hidden in this wine. The owner thinks to stop him at all costs, so there is a weapon inside her mouth, and she shoots it in the direction of Jeek. Jeek then takes advantage of the weapon and breaks the pot using it. Therefore, all of the wine is splashed on the air, and there are certain things that are along with the wine. Those things are bugs, and the customers are bewildered to see those bugs in the wine. At that moment, Jeek offers if any of the customers wanted to try the wine. Everyone refuses to taste the wine by covering their mouths. Jeek shouts that, how can he prove if no one tries it? He calls if anyone would taste it. Then, a person yells that he never heard that one can make bear bile wine with such insects. Jeek explains that these bugs are back-painted insect, since its back resembles a piece of art. And this insect tastes exactly like the bear bile wine, especially its excretion. All the customers are traumatized that the inn is making bear bile wine with an insect's excretion. A person steps forward and questions how did Jeek know about it. The owner is surprised after seeing the person and greets him as Yong Southern Peak Alliance leader.
After the 13-year-long Great Orthodox Demonic War, having suffered significant losses, the 9 great sects and the 4 great families sealed their doors, and the demonic cult began living in seclusion. Taking advantage of the situation, 4 major forces established themselves as the strong players in the jianghu. Among them, the Northern Heaven Supreme Family and the Southern Peak Alliance are the biggest forces.
So this ordinary-looking old man is one of the most powerful people in the current jianghu. Yang questions to Jeek, how did Jeek know about the insects that only live in the south? He answers that he had wandered around a lot ever since he was kid. Jeek introduces himself as,
I am Jeok Lee-Geon, the eldest son of drifting clouds and flowing water, the best fruit merchants on the outskirts.
The old man is stunned after hearing that Jeek is the son of a mere fruits merchant. Then all of a sudden, he bursts into laughing and understands that Jeek is hiding his true identity. The guard beside the Yang is shocked that Yang is interested in such a kid. He is the White Tiger's squad leader, Makwi. He requests Yang that he will try the wine that Jeek presented, and Yang agrees to his request. After Makwi drank the wine, he is furious at the inn owner that this is the same wine they had earlier. All the customers are confounded after hearing those words, and they were disgusted that they drank an excretion of a bug. Like that, the Southern Alliance people busted the owner of the inn, and even her guard stayed out of it, because they know how strong the Southern Alliance is. Zhang sincerely expresses his gratitude to Jeek, that if Jeek is not here, they would be in a big problem. Jeek states that he looks forward to be treated as a savior too. Makwi believes Jeek as an interesting guy, but Yang tells to Makwi that Jeek is more than that. Because the moment Yang saw Jeek, the feelings which he had long forgotten rushed back in. It is a combination of tremors, excitement, and ambition. Yang's blood is boiling and urging to fight again, like he did in the past. Makwi now realizes how special Jeek is for the Alliance leader to feel this way. Somewhere in a forest, a person runs as if his life depends on it. He imagines that he must alert the higher-ups about the information he gained at all costs. He believes the fate of the jianghu depends on it. Then, a person approaches besides him, and the exhausted man tries to unsheath his sword, but the other man shows tag, and states that he is from Orthodox clan. The exhausted man recognizes the tag as the Orthodox Alliance's tag. So he speaks up that he is from Northern Heaven, and they must cancel the 2 tournaments they're holding this year in Hubei, because a group called Flying Swallow Association is brewing a big conspiracy in this tournament. Then the other man tells that this year's tournament is held by Northern Heaven. So why is the exhausted man is reaching the Orthodox Alliance instead? The exhausted states that there is a spy among them, so he can't trust anyone. From the backside, the assassins are approaching them, and the exhausted man plans to become the bait, so that the Orthodox person could alert the higher-ups. The Orthodox man asks if any other person knows about this information, then the exhausted man states he is the first to know. The Orthodox man then responds,
What a relief.
The exhausted man turns his head at him, and he was beheaded in that moment. The Orthodox man explains that it is not the Flying Swallow Association, it is the Flying Swallowtail Association. A woman then lands on a tree, and the Orthodox person greets her as the association leader. The leader asks what happened to the other guys. The man speaks that they were taken off. She then appreciates him for his work and tells that the Dragon and Phoenix tournament will become a nightmare. Jeek states that he is looking forward to it, as to how good the meat tastes this time. Cherian laughs that Jeek is always talking about eating. Suddenly, Jeek senses something, but acts as usual. Cherian then shows her gratitude to what happened today. She understands that Jang must have ordered Quan to do something like this. After that, Jeek tells they must first take care of the person behind them. It is Quan, and only now he got the news about what happened at the inn. Then, Jeek asks if it is an hobby of Quan to run a background check on the people he wanted to kill. Cherian is shocked that Quan is here to kill Jeek. Quan speaks that Jang had ordered him to kill Jeek, and Cherian could clearly sense how strong the murderous intent form Quan is. She never slashed someone before, and she don't know if the both of them could defeat a person like Quan. Cherian questioned if Jeek had any real combat experience before. At that moment, Jeek takes a step back and requests Cherian to protect him from Quan with a worried expression on his face. Quan is a master of palm techniques. When he unleashes his skills, his hands seem to multiply into 8, which earned him the title of 8 Flying Hands. He was once a hero dreamt of a better jianghu. But only later he understood the distinction between good and evil was meaningless. And then, he himself became a villain. Cherian is terrified to face such a guy all alone, and the difference in skill and experience is like heaven and earth. After that, Jeek tells her to unsheath her sword first. Then, she musts up courage and draws her sword. Quan prepares to a fighting stance too, and launches him in the direction of Cherian. Cherian dodges it in an arm's breadth, and realizes how fast Quan is, and she thinks to use her movement technique too. However, she hits a rocks and falls backward. Without missing this chance, Quan strikes her with much force. And Cherian realizes that real combat is different from practice. Even from a tiny mistake she could die. Jeek shouts from backside at Cherian to not rely on movement technique and tells her to follow the flow of her sword. She understands what Jeek is trying to say and gives it a try. Therefore, she had almost sliced Quan in half. Ever since she was a kid, she learned from her father for 10 years. She felt that a wall is blocking her since she reached the 7-star realm. And now Jeek is telling to move in a different way from the way she trained. She is also perplexed as to how Jeek knows about the Red Death Sword art. Nonetheless, she don't have the time for it right now, and she does as Jeek told her to. Somehow, she felt different and managed to cut off Quan's hair. She grasps the Red Death finally, and Quan is aggrieved about her, and uses a palm technique at her. By the force of the technique, Cherian is pushed into the air and falls into unconsciousness. Moreover, Quan is fixated on killing her. However, all of a sudden, she went missing in the midair. Then, someone speaks from backside, and as he turned his head, Jeek is in the midair holding Cherian, like a protagonist who saved the heroine from crisis. Quan is dumbfounded that Jeek is using a technique to walk in the midair called void steps. Jeek corrects that it is not void steps, it is the heavenly thunder steps he learned from his father. He speaks that his father and mother fell in love at first sight. And now, Jeek is in that situation too. Quan is horrified after witnessing Jeek's strength. At that fleeting moment, Jeek punches Quan in the middle of his face, and Quan is blown away from the force alone. Quan realizes only one thing, that Jeek is on a whole other level that he can't even comprehend. To Quan, Jeek feels like a dragon soaring on the land. He begs Jeek to let him alive. Then, Jeek speaks that he hates his father, because in situations like this, his father would tell Jeek to forgive Quan. Quan feels scarred, and tries to run away.
At last, the protagonist is pulling out the blade that is wrapped in a cloth. In addition to, Quan hears the sounds of a ghost's wailing and looks back. There, the blade is unleashed, and the blade looks like a demon itself. With a single slash from the blade called Northern Hellblade, Quan is sliced in pieces, and Jeok looks like ferocious demon that had ascended from hell.
The protagonist sings a song, while carrying Cherian on his back. Cherian listens to his song calmly, and Jeek asks if she is awake. She is blushed and tells Jeek to put her down. Nevertheless, Jeek insists that he will carry her. She inquires what happened in that fight, and Jeek explains that Quan had no luck at all. He got a fatal blow from Cherian's strike from the sword Cherian wielded, with her eyes closed. After that, Jeek went in and finished him off. Then, Jeek says there's something other than this, which is important right now. It is the beginning of the Dragon and Phoenix tournament. In a cart, there are 2 old people in it, and a middle-aged man standing outside. The weapons emit an aura very strong, and the woman asks with a serious expression if he brought the item she asked. He nods to it, and presents the dumplings she asked. She eats it joyfully, and notifies that they will arrive in Hubei soon. At that time, she tells a story to the middle-aged man, about the old man, when they first met. As soon as the old man saw her, He drew his sword and lowered his voice dramatically and said, "Supreme Demon Empress, I don't care about your past misdeeds. But the day you step on the young master's shadow, you will die right there." The old man grabs his head and yells that he was senseless that time. The middle-aged man asks who the young master is, and old woman states that it's Jeok Lee-Geon's father. Now, Jang is frustrated that Jeok is still alive and shouts out what Kwon is doing. To his question, the guard replies that Kwon is missing from last night. Jang is stunned that Jeok is fine, whereas Kwon has disappeared. He could only get a single thought, that is, Kwon being murdered by Jeok. But he laughs that it is worst possible scenario. So, he plans to figure it out at the tournament. Fireworks are displayed in the sky, with banners of the tournament being held. Moreover, guards protecting the area without any disturbances to occur during the tournament. As people are entering in pairs, the audience recognizes who the martial artists are. A girl shouts out loudly that made the nearby people's ears bleed. That the person entering is the young master of the Northern Heaven, Imhagi. With him, his phoenix, Sima, from a renowned clan. Afterwards, people recognize the person who is entering right now as Young Master Yang, from Southern Alliance. With him, his phoenix known as the greatest beauty, Seol Biokwa. The crowd shouting that they will cheer for them. Then a man raises his hand and thanks everyone for showing him such support. Everyone is confounded as to who Jeok is. Cherian is feeling embarrassed at Jeek's way of doing things. A nearby warrior announces that the test will commence now. The both of them hurriedly moves in that direction, and the instructor outside warns them not to touch anything and just wait inside. Jeok feels that the instructor wants them to touch something. As they are in the room, Cherian guesses how the first test will be, but Jeek's attention is somewhere else. He glares at a signboard, written that match starts the moment they entered. Jeok guesses what it meant by, and questions if Cherian could discern anything out of ordinary in the painting. After discerning it for a while, she answers that there are 18 figures in this, and they're holding 18 Chinese weapons. Jeok states that is not the right answer. They made the painting like that to make people fall into a trap. He suggests Cherian to look closely once more. And this time, she guesses that all the figures in the painting are looking at one thing, which is the incense burner. All the participants inside the room are whispering to each other that they shouldn't touch anything because the examiners are watching all of them. Then a hand comes in the direction of an incense burner, and the hand grabbed it. The nearby participants flinched by seeing that someone touched something. And it is Jeok. He looks at the burner from up to down, and states that it is written Dragon and Phoenix Hall on the bottom. So, he figures out that they need to go to the Dragon and Phoenix Hall. A participant shouts loudly at Jeok to drop the item he took, because the instructors told them not to touch anything. The angry participant states that it causes harm to everyone present here. Jeok answers to that participant, why is a young man like him is only following the rules? He speaks that kids should rebel and reject against the existing order. The participant yells that it is only for immature kids, and he glances at the examiners, if they are looking at his direction or not. This participant is doing all this ruckus just for gaining some extra marks in the examination. So, to increase his impression even more, he tries to draw his sword out, but his sister requests him not to do that. Yet, he don't listen to her, and moves forward. At that fleeting moment, Jeok pushes the sword inside the scabbard, and forewarns him that, not to humiliate himself in front of everyone here, and they can feel how intense the Jeok's aura is. To everyone it looks normal only, and his sister is happy that her brother listened to her words and didn't draw the sword out. She apologizes to Jeok for her brother's rudeness, and Jeok smiles brightly at her. Then he puts down the burner, and he states to Cherian, they need to go. The outer guard responds that they will be eliminated after leaving without permission. Everyone is stunned that Jeok and Cherian are leaving like that. Jeok turns back and expresses that, due to the participant's sister, he advises them to follow Jeok, if they are willing to advance to the next stage. But the participant rejects aggressively. Like that, the both of them leaves this place. The both of them saw a signboard named Dragon and Phoenix Hall. They opens the door, and Cherian believes that except them, there would be no one here. However, contrary to her words, there are so many here, that she is stunned after witnessing these many people here. The renowned people were all present in here, and Jeok asks Cherian, whether she found how this many people had passed the test. Now, Cheryong realizes that all of them had passed due to corruption. Jeek states that could he certain of that, because of an idiot he saw? Cheryong looks at who the idiot Jeek mentioned is, and it is Jang. Cheryong can't comprehend how Jang is looking confident, even after he did something like murder. Jang looks at Jeek, and his nerves are boiling by the fact that Jeek is all fine. Jeek then releases a faint amount of aura in Jang's direction, and Jan felt a chill ran down his spine. Jang then takes his eyes off Jeek, and here his sister is starting lustfully at Jeek, and Jeek is smiling at her. Jang is furious that his sister is all lovey-dovey at his enemy. Later, drums rang, and a person appears on the top floor. He then announces that all the dragons and phoenixes gathered here have passed the first gate. Everyone shouts out in happiness that they cleared the first gate. Charion is happy too. Then someone yells from backside, and everyone turns back. There a person speaks that he has something to say. The person is the participant from earlier. Both Jeek and Charion recognized him, and he yells that this test is unacceptable because there are people in here who should have failed. Everyone can't understand why someone is yelling like that. The instructor from above demands an explanation to his words. He explains that when they have entered, the host told them not to touch anything. Then he points his finger at Jeek and speaks that the one who broke the rule should be disqualified instead. All the people behind the participant agrees to it and shouts that this is unacceptable. And after shouting like that, the examiner warns them to stop their whining. He questions that if he were to die at an assassin's hands he couldn't find, what will he do then? Will he argue with the ruler of hell, Yama? In jianghu, one must keep their guard up at all costs. Charion asks how did Jeek know that the incense burner is the clue. She asks if it was in coincidence. To her question, Jeek responds that there is no such thing as coincidence in jianghu. With those words, Charion could realize how cruel the jianghu is, and if she is with someone other than Legion, she would also be in the same situation as the participant is in. The instructor from above laughs and imagines that the disqualified students will thank the heavens later because the tournament is going to turn into a massacre. At the evening, Jeek treats Charion's family to a treat. He cooked all the food and boasts about his cooking. He mentions that his mother's perfect, but her only flaw is that she can't cook well. Charion is happy to see her younger sister named Young. Young suddenly fell ill at the age of 7. Even the most reputed physicians couldn't find the cause. Charion is saddened that, as to her younger sister's illness will ever be cured, due to her condition getting worse with each day passing. And Charion is curious that who Jeek is. Because of him, Charion is eating the food happily now that she passed the first gate. But she don't know anything about Jeek, except his name. In the night, Jeek is in a flower field, and as he steps forward, the ground shatters, and the rocks flew upwards all of a sudden. And in an instant, it became a new place. Then, Jeek responds that it looks great. From the above, Hua and Munying are watching this. And this is a formation made by Hua. As he dismantles the formation, everything comes back to normal. He states that he had installed 3 formations in the manner, and even an expert martial art cannot escape it, unless they know how to dismantle the formation. Jeek interrupts that there is a martial art that could break a formation without dismantling it. Jeek says he will let know Hua what the martial art is at a later time. Both Jeek and Myong walks on a mountain, and Jeek discusses that the construction will be done soon. So, they have reached one step closer to their goal of creating a sect, which is the strongest sect in all of jianghu. Myong informs that he discovered the whereabout of the wind god. Jeek responds that he will visit the place tomorrow. Myong asks if there is anyone Jeek wants to offer the wind god to, with a smirk on his face. Jeek tells Myong to stop the nonsense, because Myong already knows about it. The next day, in a market, Jeek takes Charion to a weapons place, so Charion could obtain a real weapon. In the past, she saw a pack of kunais, which costs around 5 niang, and she thinks to save her pocket money and buy those pack of kunai. After seeing that, Jeek is taking her to a weapons place. In that place, there is an old man who looks confident, and the atmosphere feels scary to Charion. She thought Jeek is visiting Hubei for the first time, so how could he know a place that sells dangerous and valuable items? Jeek inquires the owner if this is all he got. The owner glares at Jeek's weapons and shows something different to Jeek. It is a dagger called Frozen Jade Dagger. Cherian thinks it's so pretty, and the owner reveals the price of the dagger as 15,000 niang only. Cherian's jaw had dropped after knowing the price. Jeok asks, what can the owner give him if he purchases the dagger? The owner questions if there is anything Jeok wants. Then Jeok suggests that he likes to choose one of the items here. The owner accepts it, and Jeok points his finger at a weapon and states that he chooses that weapon. Both the owner and Cherian are shocked after witnessing what the weapon is. The owner laughs enthusiastically and wants to know our protagonist's name. Then he introduces himself as Jeok Lee-Geon. It's the owner's first time hearing that name, but he can't comprehend how a kid like Jeok is able to recognize such an extraordinary weapon. Then, the owner senses that the blade and sword that Jeok is carrying truly belong to those the owner thought at first. As the video creator, I still can't understand who Jeok Lee-Geon really is. The owner asks if he had the chance to meet Jeok again. Jeok replies that, since he got a bonus, the owner has a chance. Cherian from aside is shaken to her heart after seeing how Jeok deals with merchants. Cherian is scolding Jeok for spending 15,000 niang on a dagger, and to take old gloves as a bonus for the dagger. Moreover, Cherian is curious as to how Jeok had that much money with him. She questions if Jeok had done something bad, or is he the son of a rich family. Jeok tells Cherian to give her hand for a moment. She objects that she don't need a glove or anything like that. Jeok explains to Cherian that if she adorns these gloves, her martial arts will improve because Cherian is stuck in 7-star realm. Then he grabs her hand and helps her adorn a glove. The glove becomes transparent, and she feels wind surging towards her. She can realize that the glove is not an ordinary item. Jeok states that the glove had accepted her. Moreover, on her palm, the character Wind is visible. In addition to, on Jeek's palm the character God is visible. If they wore one each, the gloves will react when they're close. The material is no ordinary material, because the original master was the Fist King, famously known as Wind God, the greatest martial artist of Jianghu 300 years ago. In one word, it's the treasure among treasures. She asks Jeok with an uneasy expression as to why Jeok is treating her so well. Jeok then smiles at her brightly without saying a word. Now, the second gate is about to begin in the Dragon and Phoenix competition. Cherian can't understand why they have footprints on a stone slab. Then an instructor informs that the second stage will be a striding art, where the participant must start from one end to the other end. But there are two conditions. One is for them to step on the footprints marked here, and other is for the two people to assist and coordinate with each other. Seo Beck tells that it looks easier than he thought. Yang from Southern Alliance states that it is a child's play to anyone who learn martial arts. The instructor believes that there is no one as pathetic as Yang in here, because from now on, there will be no privileges for prestigious clan. Jeok deduces that it will be not an easy test, and Cherian is stunned that Jeok is saying those words. Then, Jeok explains that everyone has own striding art. After all, it comes out unconsciously. But if one become conscious of those steps, their rhythm will surely disrupt it. Moreover, two people have to go together. Everyone thinks that it'll be more advantageous to go later, because they can have a chance to watch how others take their steps. Cherian thinks the same, and wanted to tell to Jeok that they need to go later. But someone shouts that they are ready to take the test, and it is not Jeok, but Imhagi of the Northern Heaven. Jeok imagines that Imhagi is a smart guy, because there's always value in going first. Imhagi and Lady Sima both are ready to take the test, and the audience can understand that Imhagi is the successor of the Northern Heaven for a reason. Like that, Imhagi jumps into action, and the audience are shocked about how elegantly Imhagi is making his steps. Even the judges are pleased about Imhagi. Compared to Hagi, Sima looks like having a hard time to catch up with Hagi. Somehow, both the participants ace the second gate. Yang is annoyed as the audience is cheering for Hagi. Cherian feels that she is nervous after watching them. She asks if they will pass this test, and Jeok smiles at her and say, nope. Cherian is blown away by the fact that they don't. So Jeok suggests Cherian for some preparation, because most of the people attempts to follow Hagi's striding art and fail. This is a test to see if one can follow their own unique steps. On the outside, it is pouring, and Jeok states that it is the right place, because no one is watching them. Jeek tells Cherian to demonstrate her Red Death sword art, so that Jeek could correct the mistakes of the sword art. Cherian can't seem to understand as to how Jeek could grasp the essence of her martial arts by only watching it once. She questions what Jeek's real identity is, and he states that he is someone who is good enough to teach her martial arts. She had no idea what Jeek meant, but she doesn't care about that, and demonstrates her technique. As Jeek is witnessing her techniques, he scans like a robot and stops Cherian, and he advises her to slow down by half a breath. As he advised, Cherian does that, and saw results instantly. Likewise, the both of them continues to practice their martial arts, and when Cherian is making a mistake, Jeek provides her a solution to that. Finally, she continued till the final form, and it is a complete different feeling to what she had done all this time. Jeek congratulates her, because she had surpassed the 7-star realm and advanced to the 8-star realm. While the rain is pouring down continuously, Myung is waiting on the road for someone. Then, 3 people are walking wearing bamboo hats. And they are the people we have seen a while back, and Myung greets all of them. Myung reports that young Master Jeek is taking the Dragon and Phoenix test right now, and he will escort them to the competition hall. The old woman nods to it, and states that Myung looks like an old man, because he didn't shave. Even the old man speaks the same thing, that Myung looks 5 years older, which strikes into Myung's heart. The 3 people leaves like that, and Myung is standing still in rain, as if his heart had broken. Now, at the competition hall, the audience are confounded that Jeek and Cherian both are drenched in rain. Jeek introduces himself from the drifting clouds and flowing water, and Cherian from Righteous Sect. Some of the audience think that Jeek is lying about his clan to cover the fact that he don't belong to any clan. Jeek tells Cherian that, from now on she is in 9 stars realm. Even Cherian herself can't imagine that she advanced to 9 stars realm in such a short amount of time. Jeek states that he named the operation this time. By jumping on the stone slab, he speaks that it is Operation Dragon and Phoenix shine together. The audience are not being able to utter a single word after spectating the performance of Jeek and Cherian. She is amazed by the fact that her body is moving so easily, and before she could even knew, she had reached the end the stone slab and finished to the second gate so easily. She don't even remember how she had passed the trail. Jeek states that it was an impressive operation this time. Like that, the judges announces that Jeek and Cherian both have passed through the second gate. Outside, Jeek is staring in front of him with moving at all, and the 3 people have arrived to the tournament hall. At that time, Jeek calls her as grandmother and attempts to embrace her. However, the old woman pokes Jeek's forehead with her weapon, and blood flows like a fountain from his forehead. The old man states that anyone would think the old woman as Jeek's biological grandmother. Jeek is happy to see his grandmother after a long time, even though she is not his biological grandmother. She asks that if Jeek is establishing a martial arts sect, because it could a huge uproar in the current jianghu. Jeek responds that he is going to devour the entire jianghu. Her grandmother explains that it will be not that easy. The reason is, setting aside the 4 great major powers that have appeared now, the 9 great sects are not something to take lightly. Moreover, there is also the heavenly demon cult. All the people are waiting for Jeek's response, and Jeek answers that he is not worried about the things that haven't even happened. Grandmother can't understand if Jeek had taken after his father or his mother. Jeek orders Myung to escort the elders safely, since Jeek had someone he needs to meet. Near the mountains, Cherian questions if Jeek is joking with her, and Jeek discards it. He signifies that they need to cross this bridge called the Life and Death Bridge. Cherian disobeys to cross the bridge, and Jeek indicates that Cherian will really regret it later, that if she don't cross the bridge right now. Because the man that Jeek is targeting is also helpful to Cherian in a way. And this bridge is like a flatland to Jeek. Yet, Cherian yells that there is a cliff below. To her, Jeek teaches that a martial master will think of this the same as a flatland, and that is the difference between an expert and a novice. He believes that Cherian is not a martial master. Nevertheless, having the mindset of a martial master is similar to be a martial master too. After hearing to Jeek's motivational speech, Cherian musts up courage and walks through the bridge as if nothing. At that point, Jeek remembers that the wind blows off so strongly here on the bridge. Like that, a huge wind blows in the direction of Cherian, and the wind makes her body float in air. Cherian is horrified after being in the air, yet Jeek notifies her to think of this as a flat land only, but she couldn't do that on her first try, and closes her eyes. Then, the protagonist uses his hands, and by using the inner energy, he makes Cherian lands on the bridge safely. She is astonished by witnessing Jeek's martial arts. She feels that, just now her life had almost ended. She is terrorized that her feet don't even move even an inch. At that time, Jeek expresses that,
"From the moment I saw you, I thought my heart had stopped beating. I want you to live with me for the rest of my life because I like you."
Cherian suddenly stopped thinking about the cliff down her feet, and only thinks that Jeek is in love with her all this time, and don't know what to say. Somehow, she walks to the end of the bridge, and Jeek congratulates her on the occasion that she passed through the bridge. She questions what Jeek had said to her right now, and she asks by blushing if Jeek said those words so that Cherian could cross the bridge, and he agrees to it. She is frustrated and punches the wooden pole that Jeek has toyed with her feelings. Then, someone shouts at Cherian that she is punching the wooden pole, which holds the ropes to the bridge. Cherian apologizes and Jeek turns his head back. After seeing Jeek, the bald man flinched all of a sudden and leaves them alone. But Jeek explains to the monk that the monk cannot deceive Jeek's eyes with his disguise. Inside the temple, the monk can't understand why Buddha sent someone like Jeek. Like that, the monk peels off the skin mask he worn, and Cherian asks who the monk is. To her question, Jeek replies that he is a specialist in 8 different skills. And there is only one person in the jianghu. It is Unbounded Handsome. However, she can't call the monk as Unbounded Handsome after seeing his face. This man is called Unbounded Grotesquerie. Jeek then lays his palm of Grotesquerie's head and introduces him as Jeek's disciple. Cherian questions how did it happen. He responds that the monk lost to him in a bet, and the loser was supposed to serve the winner as his master. She asks what was the bet about, and Jeek answers, "First, it is a game of weiqi." The monk objects that someone definitely told the moves to Jeek using telepathy. Then fraudulence. The monk objects once more by saying, Jeek used a dirty trick to deceive the monk. Finally, they had a duel. The monk objects one more time that Jeek must have used poison. All the 3 tasks are the specialties of the Grotesquerie, yet Jeek won against him in his own game. Jeek speaks that he had a request today, and it is for the monk to treat a patient. The monk objects that he don't treat anyone that easily. Even the rich guys had to beg him. Jeek states that if the monk treats that person, the bet will be dismissed. The monk instantly gets up and urges Jeek to take him to the patient. Cherian questions who is the patient Jeek is requesting about. He just smiles at her, and later, it is Cherian's younger sister, Suryun. The monk takes a look at her condition by holding Suryun's hand. Cherian thinks that up until now, no one could even figure out what the problem is, so she hopes the problem will be solved this time. Jeek calls the monk as Sir, and inquiries about Suryun's condition. The monk feels happy inwardly that Jeek is showing respect to him in front of others. He explains that a venomous bee stung Suryun. It's a rare bee called blood bee. The parents are shocked that a venomous bee had stung Suryun. The monk states that he will write down the medicines, and they have brew it for 15 days. After that, they need to feed Suryun well and have her exercise. With this process, in a year, Suryun will be back to normal. Jong falls on knees and shows his gratitude to the monk. Cherian's mother appreciates Jeek for his help, and they'll make sure to repay the kindness. Jeek reveals that Cherian has tried to her best and risked her life. Later, Jeek shows his gratitude to the monk, and he apologizes for everything. The monk expresses that Jeek is a straightforward guy who is fun to be around, but he interrogates the reason why Jeek had visited him. Jeek explains that, at first he wanted the monk to conquer the jianghu, but that child's life is also important to Jeek. The monk understands Jeek's words, and he asks if Jeek still had the dream he once had. To his question, Jeek nods at him. Then the monk orders Jeek to show him the dream Jeek had, and that he'll work for Jeek. Jeek forewarns that the monk needs to risk his own life. The monk agrees to it. Jeek asks even if the monk had to call him young master. The monk states that it is better than calling master. On the day of the 3rd trial, it being held on a small island, And all the people who have aced the second trial had gathered in this island, and Cherian didn't expect that the third trial will be held on an island like this. Then, some people shouts out to call their guards. Yang is yelling at a guard that Yang is left on this island without any guards. The guard responds that Yang's grandfather has agreed to it for the fairness of the test. Jeek sighs down that immature people never change. However, Cherian is worried that, will they be safe here without any guards? Jeek responds that he could sense the Northern Heavens guards' presence. Moreover, they are indeed strong, compared to ordinary guards. Yet, he alerts Cherian that, in jianghu, a moment's carelessness could lead to death. In the sea, a large ship is floating on it, and inside a cup is thrown at a woman and tells her to get out. The man then falls on the bed, and he is disappointed that the woman earlier didn't look good. He questions how much time there is to reach the island. The outer guard replies that they will arrive in 15 minutes. The person inside licks his lips, and he is thinking how the women of the reputed noble families are like. He is called Lecherous Demon Scrooge, demonic path's greatest sex demon. Now, on the island, a bald man named Yom Chum is instructing that the flag that he is holding is the dragon and phoenix flag. Those who seize this flag will pass the third round. The audience are muttering that whether they need to fight for the flag. The instructor announces that no one will be fighting. All they have to do is, from the two gates that are here, the participants must enter from the left gate. They'll circle around the island and eventually come out of the right gate. In other words, the entire island serves as the third gate. The first four pairs, who returns from the right gate, are only able to take up these flags. After that, a lady meets Cherian to inquire about the third gate, and she introduces herself and her senior brother beside her. And the lady knows that Cherian is from the righteous sword sect beforehand. Cherian questions how did she know about her. Then the lady explains her senior brother fell in love at fight sight with Cherian. And the man beside her states that it is a misunderstanding. Oh, so there is someone who is a competition to the protagonist in love. Then the instructor scolds the three of them to shut up. He explains that this island is full of traps, so one must keep their guard up at all costs. The audience are starting to fear after learning there are mechanical traps on the island. The instructor displays an arrow and speaks that the arrows are wooden-tipped only, and there are instructors everywhere on this island. So, if anyone found themselves trapped, they can shout out the word, instructor, and an instructor will arrive. After the beginning of the third trial, Cherian states that this is her first time traveling on an island. Then, Jeek explains how he had been traveling ever since he was a kid. He divulges that there is almost no place that he hadn't visited. Cherian feels like she is living under a rock whenever she is with Jeek. Jeek consoles her that he'll take her to new places in the future. Cherian is blushed after hearing Jeek's words. However, there is something that is bothering Jeek from the starting of the third trial. It's just that he can't feel any presence of the instructors that he felt earlier. Cherian is worried all of a sudden. Yet, she leaves it like that and moves forward. Then, she senses something and draws her sword outside and blocks a mechanical trap. From her backside another arrow is shot, and it is blocked by the protagonist. She appreciates Jeek for helping her block the arrow. Nonetheless, Jeek looks worried and reveals that it is a real arrow. At that moment, someone yells out loudly to save her. Jeek instantly moves in that direction to check what happened. Near the sea, there is a ship arrived, and the guards can't understand why is a ship arriving in the middle of the dragon and phoenix competition. Then all of a sudden, something fell from the ship, and they are shocked after seeing that an instructor's head is felled like that. A person speaks from the ship that he thought all the instructors have been done for. Yet, there are some here. Both the instructors are horrified of the lecherous demon's aura. Then an instructor moves back to alert the others about this. At that fleeting moment, a chain revolved around his neck and beheaded in an instant. The last instructor is frustrated, but what can he do? He also died in the same way. The leech speaks that the women are waiting for him. As Jeek arrived, there are people visible to him, and he was stunned after glancing at the scene. It was Jeek's competitor in love, who had a crush on Cherian. I guess the story writer did this, so that there will be no competitors to Jeek. All of the participants are frightened. Jeek spots a sharp blade stuck to a tree. One of the participants is scared and calls out for an instructor. But No one responds. It is because of that leech demon and his crew that every instructor on this island is dead. Cherian can't understand why no instructor is responding for their call. She suggests to leave form this place. However, Jeek explains that it is not possible, because the enemy anticipates that the participants will try to retreat, so they might have installed the most powerful traps to block them. So he advises that they should keep on moving forward. Cherian's question if there is a way to destroy the formations. Jeek explains that there is always a way to destroy mechanical formations. After all, they are created by humans. Both Cherian and Seol from backside are listening to what Jeek is explaining, and I guess there is a competitor for Cherian now. Jeek continues explaining that every formation master will create a solution to their formation, but it is difficult for even Jeek to figure out the solution. Seol believes that Jeek is bluffing too much. However, compared to Yang, she thinks Jeek is better. Afterwards, all of the participants are walking in a same line, because all the routes have merged at the end. Cherian feels uneasy, since it's been a while, there haven't been any particular traps. Jeek feels the ground is strange, and all of a sudden, and Cherian believes that they are falling down, but it is all a illusion only. She guesses that this trap might be the one that is installed for the third gate, but Jeek denies it. The reason is, the swamp isn't just any simple trap. It is a swamp that blocks the inner energy and sucks one person deeper the more they move. Even Jeek can't gather his inner energy when he is in the swamp. Moreover, the swamp isn't all there is to it. Everyone looks up, and there is a blade above their heads. The blade commenced moving and falls swiftly on the people below. Like that, the people beneath the blade were all crushed or sliced in half. The blade is backing up to its position and rotated a bit, and once again it started to fall down. Jang is near the blade, but he is not exactly beneath it, so it is not a problem even if the blade falls. At that moment, a person grabs Jang's kimono and begs Jang to save his life. He pleads Jang to pull him up, but if Jang tried to move, the swamp will suck in Jang deeper. So both the brother and sister warns that person to leave the kimono, yet the person holds the kimono even tighter. And as the blade falls on below, Jang has somehow survived by cutting off both the arms of that person. Jang can't believe that he killed a person in front of everyone. Then he looks at Hagi and explains himself that it is not his fault, and Hagi states that it was the right choice. Then, Jang imagines that he is always right. The blade is changing direction once more, and Cherian imagines that, whenever she is with Jeek, she had the hope to solve anything. She wanted to tell Jeek something, but he disappeared all of a sudden. She glances it upwards, and the blade is at the top of her head, and it rapidly moves down. In that moment, Cherian is sucked into the swamp, and she was being dragged down. She realizes that something is pulling her down, and after a moment, there is water all around her, and she can feel her inner energy again, and the one who pulled her into the water is Jeek. Then Jeek pushes her with his inner energy, and she comes out of the swamp, and her body flies upward, that she reaches the top of the mechanical device. Then, Jeek sends her a transmission sound which is to cut out the mechanical device. As Cherian is falling down, she thrusts her sword into the device and holds onto it. She can feel the scent of the blood from the blade that killed numerous people. With the help of the golf she had, she realizes that Glove is surging her inner energy, and with a single thought in mind, she slashed the device. Like that, the device was sliced off, and the people beneath were all joyful that they have survived. The people who have survived the crisis, all of them shows their gratitudes to Cherian. Yet, she is unpleasant about it, because the one who deserves the gratitude is Jeek. He tells that it is not the time to draw the attention yet. As all of them are walking, a person shouts that the exit is near. The participants are running towards the exit, thinking that they will saved when they reach the end. The participants flinched at the end, that the instructor has been hanged to a tree. What's shocking them even more is that the instructor is a martial master, and for a master like him to be dead is something very dangerous. The leech introduces himself as the lecherous demon Scrooge. Most of the participants present here are aware of the misdeeds of the leech. Cherian asks who the leech is, and Jeek explains that the leech is a scum infamous for violating countless women and using them as human cauldrons. It means that if the leech targets a woman, he will drain the vitality of the woman completely, and she'll end up in a state that's neither life nor death. Jeek sarcasms that he is happy that he isn't a woman. Then he turns his head to the left side, and there is woman, who looks lustfully at Jeek, and mumbles that she will devour Jeek if she had the chance. Both Jeek and Cherian were stunned for a moment. The leech speaks that his employer ordered him to show torture that represents hell. Yet, there are so many women in front of him, so he couldn't do that right now. At the same time, his limit to absorb the vitality in a day is less to 2 women only. Jang calls Hagi and suggests to form a team to eliminate the leech. However, Hagi states that if they formed a team, they couldn't even defeat any instructor that monitored here, but that leech had eliminated all the instructors here, so it would be downright foolishness to do that. Before he could even finish his words, someone charged at the leech. It is Yang. He yells that the leech has messed with the wrong person. Yang swings his sword at the leech. Nonetheless, the leech grasps Yang's hand and breaks it. Yang screams in pain. At that point, the leech grabs Yang's neck, but Yang glares at the leech without any fear in his eyes. Then, the leech warns Yang to
lower your gaze.
Yet, he still continues to stare at him. In that moment, the leech slaps Yang very hard, that he spilled blood. With the same force, the leech slaps down Yang nonstop, that his face had swollen. Cherian thinks to fight the leech. However, Jeek stops her by saying that experiences like this makes a man stronger. He was beaten to a pulp, and the leech throws him down. Then, Seol helps Yang to wake up, and the leech is amazed to see a beauty like Seol. He asks for her name, and she replies to it.
I am So Pyeokhwa.
He recognizes Seol as the greatest beauty, and since she was from a prestigious sect, he was ambiguous to taste her vitality. Nevertheless, one wasn't enough for the leech, so he scans for another woman. In all the women present here, Cherian has piqued his interest. However, he didn't know that her boyfriend is a ferocious beast. He commands an underling to bring the 2 women who he selected to the ship. The underling reminds the leech that they must take all the people before the northern heaven reinforcements arrive. But the leech warns the underling that he's been waiting for this moment for so long, so no one should interfere him this time. Someone calls the leech, and it is the protagonist. He speaks that Cherian is his phoenix partner, that they live and die together. So he tells the leech that if he is taking Cherian, then he should take Jeek as well. The leech orders his underlings to bring both the woman and their partners along too. In a cave, the leech expresses that he never seen women as beautiful as these. Moreover, he got 2 beauties at that. Therefore, he plans to devour the women in front of their dragons, so that the boys would feel heartbroken. All of a sudden, the fire has lit off. In addition to, both Seol and Yang have fallen down too. The leech can't deduce who did this, and he is sure that it isn't Cherian, and he looks at Jeek. Jeek then looks at the leech, and smiles eerily. The leech hurls the chain in the direction of Jeek, yet, he escapes it effortlessly. Then, he stands on the chain, and runs towards the leech, and he uses his palm to attack the leech, and the leech blocks it. The leech speculates that Jeek is not an ordinary youngster. Regardless of that, the leech swings his chain all over the place, and Jeek went into hiding in this commotion. As the cave is collapsing slowing, Cherian pulls both Seol and Yang to a safe place. At that moment, Jeek, who is hiding, approaches the leech from the backside, and gives him a scratch on his face. The leech states that women will be scared if there is a wound on his face. He flips Jeek using the chain, and Jeek uses the chain to attack the leech. The leech is aggrieved and attempts to grab Jeek. Yet, Jeek pushes the leech's hand, and they both fight like a karate masters. Cherian is shocked after witnessing Jeek's power. She knew that he was strong, but not to this extent. Jeek attacks the leech relentlessly, and Jeek takes the stance of a palm technique. Seeing this, the leech smirks, and confronts Jeek using a palm technique too. For a palm technique, higher amounts of inner energy is required, and the leech has absorbed so much inner energy from the women. So, palm techniques are a child's play to him. However, Jeek doesn't even budging an inch at all, after the leech is using his best technique. The ceiling to the cave is completely broken, and Jeek states that, if this is all the inner energy the leech has absorbed for all those years, it is nothing more than a waste of time. Jeek uses a small portion of his inner energy, and the leech is pushed back and stuck to the cave's wall and coughs up blood. The leech comprehends that Jeok is far stronger than him, and there is only one way to subdue Jeok. The leech plans to take Cherian as hostage, and he hurls the chain towards Cherian.
Suddenly, the entire cave vibrates, and a blade which looks like a demon has unleashed. The chain is broken, and Jeok from backside tells Cherian to close her eyes. And like that, Jeok strikes the leech, and he barely dodged that, and in an instant, Jeok severed both the hands of the leech. On the back, Cherian is frightened to see Jeok. While the leech is running off, John swinged his blade once more, and his belly is torn apart. Finally, he beheaded that leech, and there is only one thought that has appeared on the leech's mind. It is that Jeok is a ruthless monster. Then, the guards of that leech are approaching to the cave after hearing those loud noises from inside. As they reach to their destination, Jeok is in front of them, holding the demon sword in his hand, where the leech's head is fallen down to his blade. The guards were all quite shocked. They can't believe their leader was killed by a teenager. Jeok's face is serious, where blood drops are all on his face. As the guards charged at Jeok, all of them were slashed by his sword in a single strike, where he nonchalantly slashed through their bodies one by one. The blood is gushing out of their bodies, and soon the entire area became a rain of blood. Watching this gruesome scene with her eyes, Cherian couldn't even utter a single word. Her eyes are terrified by that rain of blood. Jeok is looking as if a savage beast that just finished its meal. The aura around him is dark and menacing. She can't believe the Jeok ahead. Her is the same Jeok that used to laugh and smile brightly. Yet now only rage, bloodlust, vengeance, ferocity can be seen in his face.
She then called Jeok. As he turned his head at her, her eyes widened. Jeok, without any resentment and ruthlessness, have completely cooled down and reminds Cherian that he told her to close her eyes off. He describes, he can't control himself the moment he draws the sword wrapped in cloth. Moreover, he hadn't made the sword his own yet. He discloses, the blade that he is holding right now belongs to his mother, and the sword that is on his back belongs to his father. Cherian is stunned looking at the blade's aura, which is emitting only pure destruction energy. Jeok with determined eyes states,
I am going to conquer the world with my mother's weapon only. I won't wield my father's sword to conquer the world.
Cherian is confounded about Jeok's actions and words. She can't comprehend why Jeok is showing hostility towards his father. Jeok inquires if Cherian is all right, and she locks her eyes with his eyes, and answers that she is fine, and whatever nature Jeok demonstrates, she always stands beside him. The participants are all expressing their gratitude towards their savior. However, the savior is not Jeok, but Yang of the Southern Alliance. He is speechless to receive the gratitude from all the participants, because he himself is perplexed and finds himself in a state of disbelief. When he opened his eyes in the cave, he is shocked to the death, because there is a sword stained with blood in his hands, where the leech is beheaded and his guards were all sliced to half right in front of him. Jeok tells, even though it felt to him as if he had fallen asleep for a brief moment, when he opened his eyes, the leech and his henchmen were all sent to hell. Cherian states the same thing as Jeok. Therefore, by their statement which made sense to Yang, he accepted those words. Then he clenches his fist and believes that he defeated all these people, by thinking that his grandpa might have implanted an unparalleled martial art into his body. Yang thanks his grandfather by looking into the sky, clenching his fist, and the participants ahead of him considers the secret martial art might be the reason for Yang's courageous attitude that he displayed earlier, where Yang alone faced the leech. From their backside, Seol isn't looking nor hearing Yang's speech, but looking at somewhere as if she had fallen in love. She is looking at Jeok, where Cherian is surprised that Yang took the credit for himself without having any doubts. Jeok explains, for people like Yang who have come from bigger backgrounds, pride and status mean everything. In a pavilion at the Southern Alliance, Makwi notifies the Alliance leader in Myung. The Dragon and Phoenix competition eventually came to an end. Furthermore, he is happy since the leech has died, and all the participants are all safe due to Yang's heroic feat. The Alliance leader didn't respond for a moment there. Then he replies, Yang is still unable to do such a big task all by himself. where rescuing the people can be considered done by himself, but killing the leech and henchman is out of the question. Makwi from backside can't control his curiosity and puts into question who killed the leech and his henchman if it isn't Yang. At this moment, Im Young assumes it might have done by that kid they have met before. Makwi refers to Jeek, and the old man accepts it. The old man is having a bit of doubt, due to the leech being an overwhelming opponent for someone at that age. Yet he still had a small amount of confidence that Jeek is indeed the person who had the power and strength to kill the leech on that island. Makwi suggests if they need to investigate Jeek's background and his personal information, but the old man stops him, because they can't provoke Jeek unnecessarily for a trivial matter. Makwi obeys the old man's command and plans to stay silent. Besides, he is happy once again, due to this being an opportunity for them to have an upper hand against the Northern Alliance. The old man once more declines Makwi's recommendation, because this incident is too small for the Southern Alliance to take up against Northern Alliance. Furthermore, there will be a chance the Heavenly Dragon tournament might also be in danger by the masterminds who had made the Dragon and Phoenix competition to such mess. Since this is an advantage to the Southern Alliance, the old man smiles eerily and plans to play along with that masterminds. In the mountains, there is small pavilion, and it has a name board of New Wind Manor. Jeek and Cherian are in front of that pavilion, which is smaller. Jeek reveals this is his home, where Cherian is surprised Jeek's home is too small than what she had imagined. At that time, Jeek opened the doors of that manor and describes, he built this manor with that name, which means a new gust of wind will sweep through the jianghu. Cherian's eyes have enlarged, since the actual pavilion that she is seeing is far more bigger than her whole sect. Jeek asks if Cherian had liked the place, and she answers that it is to her liking. She wonders why the place is so enormous. Jeek reveals he is planning to establish a new sect here. She opened her mouth in awe by that surprise that Jeek had given to her. Jeek divulges he is naming the sect the Azure Heaven Sect. Cherian smiles brightly at Jeek for coming up with such a nice name, as the both of them are walking in the bamboo forest that is in the New Wind Manor. Cherian questions, when did John started all this construction, since the place is too big for it to be constructed in a matter of time? Jeek responds, it has been a few months since he found the place and started constructing here. As Cherian is walking, she finds the land is a bit strange and guesses if it is an array. Jeek notifies her, it is a sound-blocking array. Then they have reached the end of the garden, and there is one more door present there. Yet Cherian is still curious of the sound-blocking array in such a nice garden. Then Jeek opens the door in a dramatic way, and Cherian is bewildered to witness the area, since there is a huge site construction going in there. Moreover, this place is far more bigger than the Wind Manor that they just came through. It is so big that the panel itself is not sufficient for this, and the place is still going to be constructed bigger than this. Cherian just stood there in disbelief, and Jeek clarifies, the Wind Manor is just an entrance for the Azure Heaven Sect. Normally, the New Wind Manor is 5 times bigger than normal sects, but the Azure Heaven Sect is 5 more times bigger than the New Wind Manor. In other words, the Azure Heaven Sect will be more than 25 times bigger than an ordinary sect. To make things more interesting, the Azure Heaven Sect is still undergoing through the process of expanding. Jeek brought all the laborers working here by covering their eyes with veils and more, so the coordinates of the Wind Manor will never be leaked, and furthermore, it is for the safety of the laborers too. Jeek is going to build a training hall and a dorm that can be used by several thousand people at once. Where Cherian from backside is going to die out of this plot twists, she just can't comprehend what Jeek is trying to do by maintaining such a huge amount of troops. Besides, there aren't many people in this jianghu who can control this scale of people. Jeek continues, for more than 10 years, the 4 hegemons have dominated the jianghu, so he is going to tear down all of them, and he alone rules over the jianghu by establishing a sect strong enough to make his dreams come true. At the Northern Heaven Supreme family's Hubei branch, a person just slammed his fist onto the table, shaking with rage. He is Jie Yunsang, the Blood King sect leader. He is frustrated, since he entrusted his children into the Northern Heavens sect, yet the Northern Heavens Alliance leader just apologized to everyone. Yunsang can't control his emotions, because he lost his greatest disciple, and his youngest daughter had her feet cut off. He questions if the alliance leader would remain calm if his grandson, Imhagi, had been the victim of this incident. The remaining leaders are whispering to each other if Yunsang had lost his mind, due to him baring his fangs against the Northern Heavens leader.
As a father with children, I understand how the family heads are feeling. Our alliance shall investigate this incident thoroughly.
A few days back at the Northern Heaven residence, where the alliance leader is enjoying his bath in a swimming pool with two ladies in the pool massaging him, and two ladies outside the pool playing the music for him. The military advisor of the family, Band NWE, is stating the remaining family heads won't accept the outcome from the competition. The Northern Heavens leader, Chance, is surprised by the fact, since the third round is a place they prepared in secret without leaking the info to anyone. So Chance concludes there is a traitor in the Northern Heaven. Now he is asking the advisor to resolve this issue. The advisor recommends they need to make the people the heroes of this incident, who made little contributions in this incident like Yang and Cherian, therefore, creating a theory that the dead children died because of their lack of incompetence. Like that, their deaths would send their families into humiliation, and the Northern Heavens can shake off their hands from this incident. Chance appreciates it is a good idea, and for those who still won't yield, will face the wrath of the Northern Heaven Alliance. Coming to the present, Chance declares he is going to take the responsibility, yet he announces this is a matter of the jianghu, since most of the dragons and phoenixes survived in the worst situation, and some of them even managed to rescue others. So he concludes this is just fate. After hearing those harshly words, Yunsang slams both of his hands on the table fiercely and asks if Chance would have closed the matter in the same way if his grandson, Imhagi, had died by the hands of that leech demon. The area instantly becomes dark and Chance speaks in anger. Why Yunsang is always referring to his grandson. Now he questions if Yunsang wants Imhagi's head, where Chance should go slash his grandson's head to satisfy Yunsang rage. Yunsang can't speak up a word against Chance, and the Southern Alliance leader advises Yunsang to calm down. He interprets, even though it is painful, it is spilled milk, so they can't do anything about it, and they should move on. Tears are staring to drop from Yunsang's eyes by hearing that sad truth, which he couldn't acknowledge. He ponders, if the Dragon and Phoenix tournament were to held by the Blood King sect, and if Imhagi had gotten his feet severed like his daughter did, the entire Blood King sect would have eliminated by Chance already. Likewise, he cries out loud, with tears dropping to his cheek. He couldn't do anything about to this incident, and the Southern leader believes it may be frustrating for Yunsang right now, but even he himself must have killed so many people to come to the stage where he is right now. So at last, this is the law of the jungle. Even if it is Chance's fault for not keeping the security tight, Yunsang couldn't do anything about it. The old man realizes this will be the last time he'll see Yunsang, because Chance wouldn't leave Yunsang after the shame he received today from Yunsang. Jeek and Cherian are both heading to a group called Wind Mountain Group, who are mountain bandits that have set up their camp in the Green Forest and are demanding money under the cause of protection fees. So Jeek is on his way to get rid of them. From the words of Jeek, Cherian is realizing Jeek is going to take care of the mountain bandits like the incident of the leech, where Jeek demonstrated how a rain of blood feels like. Two guards are guarding a door, where one of them is yawning. Soon the both of them gets their guard up, where a guard is unsheathing his sword. The guard who unsheathed his sword jumped off from there, and he aimed his blade at Jeek by speaking, "They can enjoy the girl after finishing Jeek." But little does the guard knows, Jeek is the protagonist of this story, so he quickly grabbed the blade with his bare hand, and he used the blade to slam through the bandit's face, where blood is gushing out of his nose as if a volcano had erupted. In addition, some of his teeth have broken too. When the second guard has rushed off to help the first guard, suddenly stood froze, when Jeek turned his head to the second guard and smiled eerily at him. A chill ran down the second guard's spine. Without any delay, Jeek instantly appeared behind the second guard in midair, and he knocked him out. Later sometime, screams are coming out from the Wind Mountain camp, where Cherian is beating them without a break. Jeek is reminding if she can feel the murderous intent from the bandits, where she will die the moment she let down her guard, or even showing a brief hesitation. It was at this moment, a weapon is hurled at Cherian, and she instantly noticed it, so she sliced it off by using her sword, and it is not a tool, but a pouch containing some powder. As she breathed the powder, A person steps into the scene in an amazement that only 2 people have come to his household and yet caused such a ruckus. This man, carrying a weapon called Morningstar in his hand, is the leader of the bandits. Cherian inquires if it is a poison that she breathed right now, and the leader alerts her it is not just poison alone, but an aphrodisiac mixed in it. It means her body will become hot like a furnace and craves to embrace just any man she could see. Moreover, if she don't mate with a man immediately, she will die bleeding from all her 7 orifices. She instantly looks at Jeek by getting traumatizing that she will die if she did not consume the antidote immediately. Jeek tells her not worry about the antidote. He reminds Cherian that he is man that she can mate with. As Jeek is pointing his index finger at himself, Cherian is much traumatized about it and runs off to the leader to partake the antidote. Afterwards, the leader has obediently displayed the poison sac and 3 antidote bottles. He informs, only one of the 3 bottles contains the antidote. The other 2 are poisons that will only amplify the effects of the previous poison severalfold. He is beaten to a pulp where he can't even open one of his eye. He declares that he will not reveal which bottle has the antidote, because this is his way of taking revenge. Cherian is frightened by the leader's words, and Jeek from backside doesn't care about the leader's words. He recommends Cherian to pour the remaining poison that is in the sack at the leader, so the leader will obviously reveal the bottle with antidote, and if he still remains constant, the leader will die first since his martial arts are weaker than Cherian. Cherian is astonished about this idea, and the leader is stunned and horrified by Jeek's way of doing things. He never thought that Jeek would use Uno reverse card at him. Cherian is still considering that if she pours this poison onto the leader, there is a chance that he will die, and she is unable to bring herself to kill someone. Jeek could clearly see the hesitation in Cherian where her hands are shivering just by holding the poison sac in her hands. Jeek sighs down and remembers his father. He expresses to Cherian, she can let go of the pouch and can do internal breathing technique to remove the poison out of her body. Then Jeek kicks off the leader's face once again, where his face is already full of bruises, yet Jeek added one more to the collection. Sometime later, Cherian is surprised that her body is back to normal, and she could sense the poison has indeed came out of her body. At midnight, in the Palm Essence Union that Jang belongs to, the leader is talking about Cherian's performance from the Dragon and Phoenix competition. He puts into question if she the girl that was supposed to team up with Jang in the tournament. He is Jang Dae-san, Palm Essence Union leader. Jang's sister chuckles. She is the one that should have teamed up with Jang. Furthermore, she explains, Cherian didn't even glance at Jang for even a moment, and that is because of a person called Jeek. As the brother and sister are quarreling at each other for this matter, Daesun intervenes and scolds Jang for ruining their family name by getting looked down by a family that is weaker than the Palm Essence Union. Nonetheless, Daesun informs the Blood King's sect leader, Yunsang have committed suicide. Jang is confounded. Yunsang killed himself just because his daughter lost her feet. His sister interrupts and explains, it is not suicide, but the Northern Heavens doing. Jang is shocked about it, and Daesun states his daughter is right. He forewarns his both kids to not displease the Northern Heaven family, because it is a ruthless family that have committed so many atrocious crimes. Daesun now grins and tells them, they have made good connections with the Northern Heavens family, so the chance of their sect getting bigger has a higher chance. Outside the mansion, on top of it, 2 people were eavesdropping on Palm Essence. They are none other than Jeek and Myong. Jeek speaks the family inside the mansion is having one hell of a crazy ideas about making their family bigger by connecting with Northern Alliance. Myong laughs. Once the Jang family finds out about what's going to happen to them, they won't be laughing anymore. Besides, Myong is happy to see Jeek getting dressed up after a long time. Jeek smiles and states, if he wants to convince the other party by pretending that he is from the Northern Heavens, he should at least dress up this much. At that point of time, Myong presents a mask and a small wooden box that looks like a treasure box. That mask is crafted by Jeek, where the real owner of that face is the inner hall leader of the Northern Heavens, who is considered as highly valued individual in the Alliance. Myong is terrified of Jeek's skills, where Jeek could not only make a perfect human masks, he could also mimic their voice, expressions, and even their mannerisms which are indistinguishable from the real person. Jeok whispers, if they were to successfully raid the Palm Essence Union, they can stop worrying about money for a while. On top of that, he is going to create a rift between the Palm Essence Union and the Northern Heavens too. Myung alerts Jeok to be cautious all of the time. And Jeok describes, any person would lose their complete sense when they were presented with that thing inside of the box. Yet, Jeok is afraid of his mother, that if she finds out that Jeok took this item without informing her, he'll be done for. Myung smiles brightly and encourages Jeok. Nothing will happen, and his mother will understand Jeek's intentions. Jeok then looks at him and divulges, Myung is speaking in this way because he never got beaten by Jeek's mother. Later, in the ancient sword store which belongs to the Palm Essence, Jeok is sitting in front of an old man by keeping the wooden box on the table. The old man is the store manager, so he inquires what brought an inner elder from the Northern Heavens to their humble store. Jeok, by having the mask, talks in a low voice. The thing that he is presenting right now shouldn't be disclosed nor revealed to anyone, since the inner elder is betting his own life in this gamble. The store manager's eyes have widened after hearing those words, thinking there might be something dangerous, so it could mean to bring a lot of money. The store manager obediently accepts his conditions and requests Jeok to open up the wooden box. As Jeok opens it, a golden-colored light is emitting from it, and he speaks that he wants to sell this item right now. The store manager recognized the item in the wooden box and wants to confirm it, if what he's thinking is right. It is a sculpture that looks like a balanced beauty, where it glows depending on the angle it is in, and it is the revered artifact of the heavenly demon divine cult known as the Divine Jade Buddha. Jeok agrees what the store manager told right now is indeed right, and the store manager's face is glowing with greed, and he is thinking, this sculpture alone costs at the very least 500,000 niang, and if he can just snatch this deal without Dason figuring it out, he can make a huge amount of profit. So he is planning to offer 400,000 niang, but he calms down himself and is pondering, if Jeok wants to sell of this sculpture immediately, he will obediently take any price, as long as it is not dead cheap. So he proposes, he will offer 200,000 niang for this. Jeok is surprised by that small amount. As the store manager is looking at him with confidence, Jeok closes his eyes and agrees to this deal. Only if the store manager hands over the money right now. The store manager's face is filled greed and malice of having secured a huge profit, so he agrees to the deal and offers the money instantly in small, untraceable slips for maintaining privacy. Jeok is thinking, the old man is digging his own grave by giving him the money in untraceable slips. Later in the forest, Jeok and Myung both met there after the mission. Myung inquires if the mission was too hard. Jeok then takes off his mask and expresses that the mission is easier than he anticipated. Now they are planning to break into Sword Store's vault tonight, and then they will loot all the valuables that are inside the vault, including the money that is inside it, and retrieve their Buddha sculpture back safely. Myung reminds, the vault is protected by 12 unbreakable formations. Nevertheless, there are no formations that can't be broken by Jeek's martial arts. With this incident, the Palm Essence Union will receive a devastating loss, and all of them will be in an uproar at tomorrow's morning. Jeok is not satisfied with this, and is planning to suck them dry completely without leaving any valuables in the Palm Essence Union. The next morning at the Palm Essence Union headquarters, Dasan is in a state of shock and anger. He raises his voice. How can the ancient sword store, which is being protected by 12 formations, can be robbed off easily? The store manager kneels in front of Dasan and explains, when he went to the safe to check the valuables, all the protective mechanisms were destroyed, also the antiques and cash were all been robbed. However, there is something that is suspicious to the store manager. He divulges, the inner hall leader of the Northern Heaven has visited him to offer a sculpture in private without letting anyone know about it. As Dasan inquired the details about this deal, the store manager reveals, Inner Hall leader has left the Divine Jade Buddha, which is treasure of the demon cult, and now, the sculpture also got lost from the safe. Dasan sharpens his eyes and interrogates, why did the Inner Hall leader entrusted such a valuable item to the store manager instead of coming to Dasan directly? And what's more suspicious is that, on the same day the Inner Hall leader visited their store, everything got stolen. As the store manager is shivering in fear for getting betrayed by the Inner Hall like that, Dasan is suspicious about the store manager, since he might have pulled some strings and is acting like this to put all the blame onto the northern heavens. Nonetheless, Daesan believes the store manager isn't brave enough to pull something this big, so that concludes the inner hall leader to be the culprit. Furthermore, even the inner hall leader wouldn't do something like this all alone. Therefore, he guesses the northern heavens has orchestrated this deliberately. Daesan falls down to the chair back to him by grasping his forehead in tension. He is unable to understand the meaning behind this robbery, due to the fact that the northern heavens has been running their business in Hubei all this time, and they have always maintained a close relationship, so there is no reason for the northern heavens to do such a thing in secret. At this moment, a person hurriedly comes inside the chamber without notifying his arrival. He informs Daesan, the iron safe where they store all their weapons has been completely stolen without leaving a single weapon behind. Daesan screams in rage as to what is happening to the Palm Essence Union, and how can someone steal that large amount of weapons in a single night without alarming any guards and even breaking their formations. In a cart, there are a ton of weapons inside it, and driver of that cart is Myung, and beside him is Jeek. Jeek is surprised the Palm Essence Union is having such high-quality weapons, which is something not to be ignored. Myung also shares the same idea. He replies, all these weapons are to be delivered to the northern heavens, so they are to be of high quality. Jeek left enough traces to make the robbery look like the doing of northern heavens, and after figuring out it was the doing of the northern heavens, Daesan wouldn't do anything about it, and sits idle. Myung knows. This year, the northern heavens is holding a award ceremony for the people who have rescued others in the dragon and phoenix competition. As Jeek cleans the sword and looks himself in the sword's reflection, he speaks. Daesan's suspicions will grow even more when he attends the award ceremony, because Jeek has planned something for Daesan. After a few days, at the Dragon and Phoenix Awards ceremony, many people have gathered here to witness the awards ceremony and are communicating to each other. Then, two people are congratulating Cherian for rescuing so many people from that large blade. Cherian is shaking her to show that she didn't do much help in it. She sighs down with uneasy expressions, because all these compliments should be getting to Jeek, and she is saddened as it had been a few days since she last saw Jeek. A few days ago, Cherian asks if Jeek will be staying at the Azure Heaven Sect, and he nods his head. He believes he might be off in convincing them. Cherian is flabbergasted to hear that Jeek has started to take note of other people's feelings. Jeek then smiles at her and questions if she is disappointed by him leaving her place. He also insists her to take the award, since disabling the mechanism at the third trail is entirely her doing. Cherian puts into question if Jeek is not interested in any of this awards and not wanting of anyone's attention, there is no point for him to join the tournament. Jeek mentions, on the first day they both met each other, Jang has picked a fight with him, and Cherian has stood up for Jeek, even though Cherian's family can't held their influence against the Palm Essence Union. It is Jeek's first time in his life that someone has ever stood up for him. He wandered the jianghu for a decade, yet no one ever did that for a complete stranger. Without getting happier, her face is emotionally disheartened, since she believes Jeek's journey in jianghu might be full of troubles instead of it being fun. Jeek discloses, the jianghu that he wandered is a bit different from what she knows, and Cherian is wondering what experiences Jeek had on his journey. As Cherian is dozing of thinking about Jeek, the two people in front of her are still complimenting Cherian about her exceptional martial arts. At this point of time, Jang from backside is barging in between the people by announcing,
I wonder if it is truly because of her skills.
As Cherian turned her head at his direction by getting irritated of what Jang is scheming now. She speaks what does Jang meant by those words. Jang is suspicious as to how she is only one in the entire participants that managed to escape from the swamp, and furthermore, she even managed to cut through the mechanical device. He contemplates if her martial skills are truly that impressive. She just responded that she got lucky, and Jang didn't buy that. He smiles inwardly and ponders, if Cherian is covering up this incident by proving it is just luck, he realizes Cherian just used some filthy trick to cut through the device. Now he draws out his sword from his sheath, and challenges Cherian to duel to enlighten him of her amazing martial arts. He declares, if her martial arts are truly that amazing, why didn't she make a name for herself up until now? Cherian is confounded about this sudden turn of events, and wants to deny his request and move on. Nevertheless, Jang insists her to draw her weapon to fight him, But Cherian states this is a banquet for people to enjoy and not for having duels. But Jiang annoys her by raising people's suspicion. If Cherian's skills are that impressive, she can take care of Jiang in an instant. Moreover, if she didn't draw her sword right now, everyone would only consider that Cherian got helped by that leech demon. Besides, she has been hanging out with a suspicious guy called Jeek. The people are starting to get more doubts now that Jiang said those words. Cherian is enraged by those words which are blaming her family and Jeek, and she took the bait by challenging Jiang to a duel. Everyone is entertained to watch a duel, and then Jiang swiftly moved at Cherian's direction to attack her, but she dodged his strike effortlessly, and Jiang rotated his head at her. Cherian had already swinged her sword at Jiang by aiming to cut his neck, yet she rotates her blade to 90 degrees, and she slammed it to Jiang's face where he spitted out blood from his mouth. He instantly lost his grip at the sword he is holding, and he lost the duel in front of everyone embarrassingly. People couldn't even utter a single word out of their mouth. They have witnessed something astonishing. Then Cherian sheaths her sword into the scabbard and asks if Jiang is satisfied now. Everyone is murmuring that Jiang lost to her in a single strike, and if she had taken Jiang seriously, he wouldn't have stood a chance. Some people are expressing satisfaction that Cherian should have beaten Jiang to a pulp. People are laughing at Jiang for having such an embarrassing loss to a woman. From Jiang's backside, his father is spectating this match. He is furious that Jiang let down their family's name once again. He hears someone's voice and turns his head at them, where Chance is complimenting about Cherian to her father, and her father couldn't control his enjoyment by getting complimented from Chance himself. And right here, Daesan is s-hawked to the death. He is already full of suspicion about the northern heavens from the robbery incident, and now that he is seeing Chance all close to the righteous sword sect, which belongs to Cherian, he can confirm Chance is abandoning the Palm Essence Union, since the righteous sword sect is gaining immense reputation these days. Both the father and son are frustrated, where the son is frustrated about Cherian, and the father is frustrated about the righteous sword sect itself. The both of them can't just sit back and let this continue on, and are planning to get rid of them tonight. At the Azure Heaven Sect, Myung and Jeek are conversing about the sect's construction. Jeek is planning to oversee the construction tonight, so he plans stay up all night without sleeping. Myung questions if Jeek had nothing to do tonight, would he stay in the Azure Heaven Sect or the Righteous Sword Sect, and Jeek chooses to stay in the Righteous Sword Sect obviously. Myung expresses, it is unusually quiet tonight, so Jeek could have some rest. Jeek looks at the moon and states, for some reason, he feels as if something is off. Moreover, the Righteous Sword Sect is a bit far away from this place. Jiang commands his guard to bring Cherian to him, and the guard advises Jiang to not to do anything without informing Daesan. The guard realizes Jiang is trying to kill Cherian tonight, and it wouldn't be a good idea to do that right now since the Righteous Sect is having connections with the Northern Heavens at the moment. He is Chung So, Jiang's confidant. Jiang tells him to not worry about it, since he plans something cruel than death itself to her. All of a sudden, Daesan approached Jiang, and informs that he is going to eliminate the entire Righteous Sword Sect tonight, so he warns Jiang to not interfere in it. Daesan orders Chung to join the following martial artists, and help them to eradicate the Sword Sect completely, without leaving a trace. Chung bows down and agrees to his command, and then Jiang looks at Chung and interprets with eyes not to kill Cherian, and bring her to Jiang, and Chung nods his head at him. In the midnight at the Righteous Sword Sect, Cherian opens up her eyes as if she sensed something is wrong. She wakes up from her bed and looks outside the window. She feels the air felt heavier all of a sudden, but nothing can be seen or heard. Without wasting any more time, she picks up her sword and runs through the hallway, because she is feeling an overwhelming killing intent from all her household. She instantly figured out that her entire sect has been surrounded by dozens of people, where there are people on top of the roofs, and more than a dozen members are outside the main door ready with their swords by having completely masked their faces. She is hurriedly running over to alert her family about this killing intent. In that fleeting moment, a person from behind her thrusted his sword at Cherian, and she evaded that strike in a finger's breadth by tightening her head to the left side. Without any further ado, she grabbed her sword hilt and pulled out the sword and sliced of the person's neck in one swift motion. As the person grabbed his neck, where blood is pouring out of his body like a fountain, He falls down by losing a lot of blood right ahead of Cherian. Her hand is shivering, and she had her eyes closed off, as this is her first time to kill a person. Yet she didn't get consumed by the guilt of killing someone, and heads over to his family to alert about this. As the protagonist is observing the Azure Heaven Sect, Myung shouts at Jeok that something terrible has happened, where the informant they hired to monitor the righteous sword sect has reported that dozens of men have ambushed the sect, and the intruders are looking as if they are ready to eliminate the entire sect. After hearing Myung's report, Jeok's eyes widened in fury. His blood felt like it was boiling, and a terrifying dark aura began to rise from him, which is wrapping around his body like a storm ready to explode. The sword sect is swallowed in flames, set ablaze by the invading troops. They're relentlessly attacking Cherian, not giving her even a moment to breathe. But she hasn't lost her will. Alone, she's holding her ground, clashing with elite martial artists, slicing through them without hesitation. Blood sprays like rain as she slashes their necks, one after another. Even after cutting down so many enemies, there were still waves of them left. Cherian could feel it. Today, no one was escaping their fate. The battlefield was soaked in blood, yet the end was nowhere in sight. Watching her fight with such brutal mastery, Chung was in awe. Now he finally understood why Jang desired her so desperately. But none of that changes the fact that she is going to die tonight. Cherian is on the verge of collapse, completely drained. Chung asks how much longer they can possibly hold out like this. Her father is already down, beaten to the ground. Even her brother-in-law couldn't hold them back. And in the corner, her mother clutches Cherian's little sister in her arms, trembling uncontrollably, eyes wide with fear. Even Cherian's older sister, trapped in the same situation, struggles to protect her husband, unable to conquer her own fear. But Cherian? She's determined to hold out, refusing to back down. With every ounce of willpower, she convinces herself that she has the strength to wipe out these intruders, no matter the cost. Chung offered Cherian a choice. Surrender and obey them, and they'll spare everyone's lives. But Cherian didn't believe him. She smiled faintly, even in the face of hopelessness. Her mind, in a moment like this, kept reminding her of Jeok. She could almost hear his voice, as if he was speaking to her from the past, telling her not to give up. But that wasn't the reality. Right now Cherian could barely stand on her own 2 feet. She stared at the entrance, desperately clinging to the hope that Jeok would somehow appear, just as he had so many times before to save her. But as the seconds dragged on, the silence weighed heavily. Her hand was trembling uncontrollably. In this moment, she realized something undeniable. She couldn't rely on Jeok anymore. Not now. Not in this battle. This was her fight. As Cherian clashed swords with the guard again, he deflected her attack with ease and rushed past her, straight toward her mother and sister. Her mother, frozen in fear, closed her eyes, accepting death. But when she opened them, Cherian stood between them, blocking the guard's blade with her bare hands. Even the warrior froze, stunned that she had stopped his strike like that. Then from her trembling palm, a faint light began to glow, shaping itself into a single word: wind. Blood started to leak from the corner of her mouth. She tried to hold it back by pressing her hand against her lips, but it was no use. She spat out a mouthful of blood, staining the ground beneath her. As her vision blurred, she fell to her knees. She is unable to move an inch. At all, her mind wandered to back when Jeok warned her that she can block the sword energy with this glove. But at her current state, her internal energy is still too weak, so she would suffer serious damage if she were to do that. The warrior raised his sword and swung it down with full force, aiming to end Cherian's life. Her mother screamed not to do that. Her sister shut her eyes, frozen in fear, unable to take a step ahead.
It was at this moment the ground shook. A deafening roar shattered the air as something powerful had arrived. From the blast of energy, a dragon appeared, massive and glowing with bright blue energy. Its eyes burned with rage, and the roar crumbled the sky out of vengeance. The warrior realized the gates of hell have opened up for him, and in a single strike, his head is crushed so hard that even his parents couldn't recognize his face anymore. With that dense pressure of surging energy, he was slammed to a wall, His body crushed against the stone with terrifying force. The wall itself cracked and crumbled under the impact. Charion's eyes have widened, looking at that burst of energy. In the blink of an eye, the warrior's neck had snapped. He was dead before he hit the ground. All the warriors and Charion's mother and sister were completely flabbergasted, where Charion's brother-in-law opened his eyes to watch the epic entrance made by the protagonist. Blood is dripping from Jeok's knuckle on the ground, and the back of his hand had a dragon's tattoo, which represents destruction. Charion's eyes have filled with hope when she saw Jeok stood in front of her, as if a wall that will protect her from any crises. Jeok inquiries,
Are you all right?
His voice filled with rage can be heard in those words. Charion answers that she is fine with tears flowing down through her eyes. Jeok imagines if he had hesitated just a moment, something terrible could have happened. So now he is filled with rage. An insane amount of bloodlust can be seen through his eyes, and his every breath is heavy and intense. Jeok is standing in front of them, like a storming dragon that has come to devour its prey. All the warriors are perplexed to see a variable in their way, and then Chung ordered 2 of his warriors finish Jeok first, as both warriors jumped into action by raising their swords to kill Jeok in one strike. Jeok clenched his fist, where a raging spiral of air had surrounded his knuckle. He punched through the lower abdomen, where the warrior's body is curved, and he sent about 10 steps back. The other warrior, without missing this opportunity, attempted to kill Jeok, but Jeok broke his leg and strikes using foot on his warrior's head. Where Jeok's shadow had fallen upon the warrior's head, he is struck to the ground, where his head is smashed without any pieces being left. Chung could feel the martial prowess of Jeok, where the rage coming out from Jeok is only raising more and more. Chung couldn't even see Jeok's movements with eyes, but his warriors are getting knocked out one by one, and in a single second, all the warriors are torn apart, where blood is leaking out of their bodies, and Chung could sense Jeok has appeared behind. When he swinged his sword to the backside, Jeok ducked, and with that tightened fist of his, he assaulted Chung's chin, where Chung left hold of the sword, and his mask had unveiled. Now that Jeok had seen Chung's face, he recognized it was the doing of Jang. As he grabbed Chung's sword, the wrath of Jeok has shook the ground beneath him.
Chung then wanted to speak something, and Jeek thrusted the sword right beside Chung's face. As Chung is trembling in fear, he discloses the information behind this mission, as to how Daesun ordered him to eliminate everyone, but Chung was going to spare Charion alone. Jeek seriously questions the reason behind Chung's hesitation at Charion, and Chung answers, Jang had ordered him separately to bring Charion to him. Jeek inquiries the whereabouts of Jang immediately, and Chung reveals Jang is waiting in the southern side of the forest, and Chung obliges to reveal everything he knows, and in return Chung wants his life to be spared. But Chung forgot that our protagonist is born for destruction, and not for seeding. Then Jeek grasps the sword that he thrusted into the ground, and speaks.
Don't force others to do something you've never done yourself.
With those raging words, he sliced through Chung's throat where blood is gushing out of his body immensely. Charion's family had never seen such an intense battle, and Charion is concerned about Jeek, where he once again killed so many people to protect her, and he again demonstrated as to how a blood storm rages over a battlefield. Then Cryan reached near to him, and asks him if he is all right. Jeek smiles brightly at her, and confirms that he is fine as long as she is. He even apologizes for being late. Charion got her smile back on her face, and tells him stop apologizing and appreciates for his arrival. Myong now enters into the scene. He bows down to Charion, and expresses his happiness that Charion is safe. Jeek commands Myong to move Charion and her family members to the new wind forest, and let Grotesquerie handle their treatment. And he urges Myong to get ready, because now they will be on their way to put an end to the Palm Essence Union. There is a sequel to this manhwa which is also an interesting manhwa. If you want me to make a recap out of that, comment in the comment section to let me know. The next part will be released soon, so until then, watch out other intense recaps like this. Thanks for watching.